everybody, Zee Garcia here, and today I'm taking a look at the new version of Urbion here from Impatience compared to the original version that came out from Z-Man Games so many years ago. As you can see, the artwork has been changed up, updated, and you're gonna see that throughout the entire product here. The new one, of course, comes in a much larger box, but it does have a lot more content, as you'll see. And then we'll take a look at the backs here. The original one came with the stack of cards, was already for 1 to 2 players, and it had 2 expansions in it, 2 little modules you could shuffle in. The new one includes all of that, those 2 modules, and another 5 for a total of 7 expansions right in the box. The color is the one thing that sort of jumps out at me that I did not realize without going back and looking at the original, how much the 2 tones had been changed. Sort of the warmth and the saturation of the yellow and the purple. The yellow here is pretty bright and sort of slaps you in the face a little bit, but certainly nothing like the back of the box over here. In fact, I like this burnt orange quite a bit. So the new artwork, again, you'll see it throughout the entire product. Let's go ahead and jump into the base cards, and then we'll talk expansions after that. So here we've got the original cards. You'll notice the size is a little bit different as well. These are slightly narrower. And then the symbology and the artwork. I'm just going to go through a few of these so you can see the differences. And again, going back to the original one, I did not realize how much had been updated, how cleaner the new style and formatting was compared to the previous design here. You've got on the old one then the symbol at the top, the modifier below that, some shapes that are supposed to help you with what the symbol is. That's sort of a flame, which is that card now. Basically, these 2 are the same card, this one and this one. And you can tell the index here, how much cleaner that is. I like that it's on both sides. It's faded on this one because the card gets played on this side, next to something on this side, but it's still there. This one has that too on both sides, but it is harder to see. And because it's in a white little cloud, it's hard to tell the edge of that shape that holds the -1. Also, just the artwork is a little, it's considerably changed up and looks a little less muddy, maybe a little less abstracted in the new one than in the original one. Let's find one of the Chaos cards just like this one, so we can compare those head to head, and you'll see what I'm talking about here. So here we go. These are the same cards, and it's just a little bit cleaner. The line works a little bit brighter and more crisp, and I really like what they've done with the new one. The black border on the cards also was not ideal. If you played the game a lot and did a lot of shuffling, it would certainly, start to show damage, though the cards held up incredibly well in this original printing. But the new one just looks so much better. And then we've got, let's go ahead and close this up so we can take a look at the cities. We've got the cities from the original one, and we've got the cities in the new one that show you the 2 symbols that may be played next to that city. And as you can see, they're just easier to tell what you can play with the new style and the new look. I really like and appreciate the new artwork, the new graphic design, and the more I look at both of these, the more I appreciate it. You also get the 2 cards in the original one for 2 players. One of them allowed the player to play the dark dreams and the other one the light dreams. So they were kind of like this on the fronts of these cards with the backs being the same. The new one just has these dark and bright cards, just double-sided. Works fine. This one didn't really need to show you the different images for the different cards. You play all the ones of that category. So that works out very well. So the original printing had 2 expansions in it. It had the Books of Power, which are these cards right here, and then it has these Arch Squares and Metas. These go together. It would be 4 new cities you had to balance, but some cool new cards you would shuffle into the deck, and they could go either way. There could be positive or negative some value. And then the books would give you a boon, but you paid for that up front by discarding some stuff. Very cool. So both of those are included in here. I will say the books, I don't like the sort of plain, incredibly simplistic look as much as I like the original one. It's probably better to decipher, honestly, but it looks like that, and I find it to be just very plain. It's a little sterile for me. And then the arch squares would be these four, with the new cards having that really clean positive half, negative half over here. And again, the color differentiation that they went with, that the artist went with here, really is a visual treat to be able to quickly look at something and go, that card is a positive card, it goes on this side. That's a negative card, it goes on that side. And so the ones that are split down the middle really help you with that. So same, again, covered in the new artwork. I will say I don't like the new books as much as I like the old books, but that's one of the few sticking points for me with the new printing. Now, that's it for the original printing here and its expansions and its content, in fact. The new one has 5 more expansions that I'll quickly go through and tell you kind of what they do and how they work. So first up, we've got the Chromatic Chaos over here, and these basically, like it says, they throw some chaos into the works, throw some monkey wrenches in there. Every time you hit one of these during phase 2 when you're replenishing your hand, you draw one, you are going to immediately play it anywhere you want. You do get to choose which way you play it, and then you top deck a card and also add it to the display anywhere again that it would go, and then you draw back into your hand, okay? So they're going to burn through the deck. They basically don't add to the size of the deck, and they mess with the amount of cards out there, making it so that you have to sort of clean the sides of the cities a little more than maybe you do traditionally in the game. So that is the Chromatic Chaos. Next up, we've got the Temples and the Concords here. The Temples have a single symbol instead of 2. You shuffle them into the cities, and then these Concords are going to help you because they're either thing, and you can play them as either thing anytime, including when setting up. Whenever you are drawing just to add 2 cards to a city, you can put these on whichever side you want to. They're a little more flexible even than the original expansion cards that would get shuffled into the deck. They can go next to anything as well, so they're very, very flexible. Hindered, of course, by these having only 1 symbol, and you needed to complete now another 4 cities. These right here, the Hanging Gardens and the Wizards, are sort of an extreme version of this, if you would. These are 4 cities you need to balance as well. They have no symbols at all. You cannot legally play next to these. And then the Wizards have a star here instead of a circle. And when you discard these, you can now take new actions above and beyond the 2 from the base game. You can now do urban remodeling, they call it, and crossover. Basically, urban remodeling means you can switch where 2 city cards are and leave all the cards that were next to them there. And then the crossover lets you cross 1 chaos card from one side to the other and flip it upside down. Very powerful. You get to do one of those things. When you discard one of these, you can also, instead of doing one of those 2 new powerful abilities, you can do 2 of the old abilities. So you could, for example, switch 2 cards and then balance with a single discard of these. So they're sort of souped up versions of the original cards, and these are seriously downgraded versions of the original cities. That's the idea. The next expansion here, Postcards to the Aniverse, is by far the most complex included in the box. It's also the most thematic and the most bombastic and sort of kooky, if you would. So it will seriously reduce your ability to play quickly because there are a lot of things you need to check for. Basically, you are getting a number of these that are going to be helpful by, you can just discard these and do something particularly powerful, okay? This is not the focal point here. This is a stack of cards that you're going to shuffle up, and every time you're setting up a new city, when you reveal the first dream card for that city, you also reveal one of these, and you put it on that card horizontally like this. You are trying to clear these and set them aside, and if you clear them in a positive way, you get a positive point. If you manage to do whatever they require of you, you'll make a stack of these that's going to start adding up. If you do not clear one or something happens that it makes it go bust, then instead you'll start making a negative pile with those, and at the end of the game, you not only need to get all 12 cities, or however many you're playing with, you also need to have at least as many positive points as negative, or you lose the entire thing. And again, these do all sorts of things. Where this one is, that city, when you clear it, has to have all 4 symbols on cards, or you get the negative thing. This one has to be alone on that side of the city, or you get the negative. This one, sometimes they just sort of do, they're a condition or an ability. This one, just every time it's a new turn, it does this, and it does that, and it does that. When it comes back to here and tries to turn again, you lose it, unless you clear it before then. So a lot of different stuff, a lot of complex and funky little abilities, but they do add flavor. They have cute names. They bring some of the other games in this series of games together thematically and give you a fun splash of world building, if you would. But they're not for the faint of heart. There's a lot going on in these. And then over here, the final one is you fighting the emptiness is going to be including the token that every one of these games includes. Using this one, these cards are just markers, basically. They're double-sided. You have a stack of these. This little guy is going to be moving from this stack down through the 4 cities and then back to the top city and so on. Anytime you balance out the cities when you're trying to, when you discard a card and check for balance, the city this is on, you ignore that for a moment. You check the other 3. Then you come back to this one. If that city is balanced, you are going to leave those cards there. You're going to leave them alone, and you're going to remove the top card from this stack. You're trying to run this out. When you run this out, this goes away. It's just bothering you the whole time. But you don't clear the city. It stays balanced, and you burn one from up here. If the city is unbalanced, then you clear everything from that city. Not great. And if the city is empty, nothing on one side, nothing on the other, you lose the game. So you don't want that to happen. To help you deal with this, you do have a new ability, which is you can discard 2 cards here. You can discard 1 of each and take this guy, who normally would be standing, by the way, on these cards. You take him and you put him on the stack of cards up here. And on the next turn, at the beginning of your turn is normally when he moves. All he does is stand, and on the next turn, then he moves to the first one. So you kind of delay him for a couple of rounds so that you can get some things done, okay? So that's basically it. Once you clear all 8 of these, he goes away, the cards go away, and then you just go on your merry way, but he's going to be impeding you and annoying you as you're trying to get those things done, all right? So there you go. Those are the expansions and kind of what they do. One final kind of important thing I want to talk about here is the 2-player mode. There's been one fundamental rule change to the 2-player mode. In the original game, you had these 2 polarity cards, and you could only play to the one you had. And if you wanted to switch, that's fine, you could. You had a new action where you could discard a card now to switch these 2 with your opponent, or with your partner, I'm sorry, and then they could play on the other side of the cities. Well, that's different now. It no longer costs you a card. You now may do it anytime you want to, as long as you discard 8 cards from the discard pile. And so these, building up in the discard pile, it's what's going to let you swap this. Every time, you can do it any old time you want to. You just discard 8 cards, boop, and then you can swap with your partner. If you want to do it again, there better be 8 cards built up again, or you need to get to that point, and then you can swap back. So it cleans it up, it simplifies it, and it means that you use the discard for something, which is always interesting in these games. Plus, it doesn't cost you a card from your hand, making the deck conservation a little bit easier to deal with. So there you go, everybody. That's gonna do it for our comparison here between the original printing of Urbion here and the new printing. Let me know in the comments below if you have played the original, if you're a fan, what you're thinking of this new one. Make sure you go and check out the review that Chris and I did of the new printing. It's out right now, so you can check that out. And yeah, let me know in the comments what you think of how these expansions sound. If you have played the game, what you thought of it. And thank you for tuning in and checking this out with me. My name is Zee Garcia. I want to see you on the next one.
Hey everybody. everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you, and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Vasel.